Lately, I have had so many conversations with women who feel very isolated and alone and sometimes forgotten. And I wondered if this might describe some of you. Maybe you're in a marriage right now where you feel forgotten by your husband and you are just wishing that he would listen to you and hear your dreams and really see you like he used to. Or maybe you've just gone through a time of deep grief, and while people had crowded around you at that initial point of crisis, as you're going through this long process of healing, you feel very forgotten, and maybe your pain has been discounted. Or maybe you're in a leadership position, and while you are constantly serving and giving and you're constantly surrounded by people, maybe you can't remember the last time someone looked you in the eyes and asked how you were doing and how you felt and what your dreams were and how they could pray for you. I think that women in general often feel very isolated and alone. And there is one particular aspect of God that appeals to us so deeply because of this. I think it's important to realize because this affects so many areas of our life. Now, last week in the post about the Tower of Babel, I had discussed some about how our need to make our names great and our names known in the earth tends to show up in things like our blogging and in social media. And while our pride is definitely a part of that, I think this issue of feeling invisible also plays a part because we are just desperately trying to be heard, to make a name for ourselves so someone knows who we are, so someone sees us. We want someone to hear us and listen to our dreams. And often, sadly, we feel more heard by strangers on the internet than we do by those closest to us in our daily life. So when I open my Bible to Genesis 16 and I pick up where we left off yesterday with Hagar, this story is just so striking to me because Hagar has been so mistreated. She was an unwilling surrogate. She was forced into this awful situation by Sarai, who then began to despise her and abuse her, and Hagar eventually fled. And so we pick up with her, wandering pregnant and alone in the wilderness, desperate for someone to see her, and God meets her right there in her time of need. If we look at Genesis 16, verse 5, Sarai said to Abraham, "You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my servant in your arms, and now that she knows she's pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me." And so Sarah begins to abuse her, and we find Hagar running away. In verse 7, the angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was the spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from? And where are you going?" I love that the Lord meets her in her place of brokenness and first of all says her name, because Hagar probably had not heard her name spoken with that tenderness for quite some time. And he meets her there and says, "Hagar, where have you come from? And where are you going?" And the Lord knew that. He knew where she had come from. He knew that she was wandering alone and desperate, but he asked her and gave her a chance to speak and to share her story. In verse 13, we find Hagar responding to this encounter with God, and it says, "She gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her, 'You are the God who sees me.' For she said, 'I have now seen the one who sees me.' And that is why the well was called Beer Lahai Roi. It is still there. And Beer Lahai Roi means the well of the living one who sees me." This had to have been just a profound moment in Hagar's life to realize that the living one, God himself, Abram's God, maybe she didn't feel like she even had a part of this God, that he himself met her at her point of brokenness and rejection and desperation. He called her by name, and he saw where she had come from. He listened to her. So today, wherever you're at, whatever kind of loneliness and isolation you're struggling with, I just want you to take some time to really ponder what it means that God is El Roi. He is the one who sees you. So whether you're feeling alone in your marriage, or alone in a time of grief, or alone in leadership, or maybe like me, you're a stay-at-home mom and you just feel forgotten as you spend all day picking up laundry and doing dishes and mundane things of service, God sees, and he knows the pain that's in your heart that no one else has listened to. Perhaps things that even your husband hasn't noticed, he knows. And as you begin to take refuge in him and take comfort and identity in him, it will free you to stop looking for this validation and this comfort from people around you and really sink your life into the Lord and draw from him that comfort that only he can provide. He is El Roy, the God who sees.